All right, welcome to 8.5 Properties of Logarithms. Go ahead and pause the video and get these 4 properties written down. Once you have them written down, you can start the video and we will get started. So these log properties, we've been talking a lot about exponentials and how to solve them, logarithms and how to solve them. Now we're going to be talking about how to use some of these additional log properties. So if you take a look, log property number 1 talks about how to take 2 logs and add them. How do we combine them? So we're just going to multiply the arguments. Property number 2 is talking about how do we take 2 logs and subtract them. Well, we're going to divide the arguments. And then properties 3 and 4 are just some extra properties that we're going to be taking a look at today. So let's go ahead, we'll give ourselves a little bit of space. And we will call this example 1. Example 1 says rewrite as a single logarithm. Okay, and example A gives us log base 5 of a squared plus log base 5 of a squared b cubed. Okay, so we need to combine these 2 logs. Take a look up at the top of your notes or up on the whiteboard. Which log property, show me on your hand, 1, 2, 3, or 4, talks about combining logs that are getting added? Which log property has logs that are being added? Very good, property 1. And property 1 says if I have 2 logs that I want to add, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the arguments and I'm simply going to multiply the arguments. So the stuff in parentheses, we're just going to multiply them. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to rewrite log base 5, and then I'm going to multiply the arguments. So a squared times a squared is now a to the 4th, and then b cubed. And we use property number 1 to combine them. Okay, so property 1. If we have 2 logs getting added, we can combine them by simply multiplying the arguments. Okay, let's do another one. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of space. We'll call this example B. In example B, we are given log base 10 of a to the 5th, b to the 7th, c squared minus log base 10 of a squared b to the 3rd c. Okay, so I've got 2 logs that are being subtracted and I need to put them together. So take a look up at the log properties and show me on your hand which log property talks about 2 logs that are being subtracted. Very good. Log property 2, it says if we have 2 logs that are being subtracted, I simply need to divide the arguments. Okay, so let's go rewrite this and divide our arguments. This is log base 10 of a to the 5th, b to the 7th, c squared divided by a squared, b to the 3rd, c. Is my answer simplified? Give me a head nod. Is my answer simplified? No. I need to go ahead and simplify what we've got in parentheses, so I know that this is going to become log base 10 And then I know from my exponent rules that if I have a to the fifth over a to the second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5 minus 2 is 3. So this becomes a to the third. Then when I look at the b's, b to the seventh over b to the third is b to the fourth, because I'm subtracting 7 minus 3. And then the c's, c squared over c, 2 minus 1 is 1. And we use log property number 2 here. Okay, example C. In example C, we are given 4 times log base 10 of x cubed y squared plus log base 10 of xy. Now, it's very easy to look at this problem and say, oh, we have 2 logs that are getting added, so I must be using property 1. The trick on this one is that before we do property 1, we've got to get rid of the 4. Okay, so property 1 works if we do not have a leading coefficient or a number out front of the log. So take a look at the log properties. And let's see if we can figure out which log property has to do with a time when there's a number out front of the log. So take a look up at the whiteboard at the log properties. Which log property has to do with a number that's out front of the log? Very good. Property number 3. So property 3 says that we can take an exponent and bring it down out front as a coefficient, or we can take a coefficient and bring it back as an exponent. So when we use property 3, we're going to take this 4 back as an exponent. So this is property 3. We're going to take the 4 back as an exponent. So this is actually going to become log base 10 of x to the third y squared to the 4th power. So log property 3, we can bring that coefficient back as an exponent. Now let's go ahead and simplify this first log, because I have x to the third y squared all to the 4th power. So if I need to simplify this using my exponent rules, this is going to become x to the what? What do I do with the 3 and the 4? Very good. I'm going to multiply them. So 3 and 4, this is going to become x to the 12th power, y to the 8th power, because we are multiplying the 3 and the 4 and the 2 and the 4. Now, which property are we going to use to put these two logs together? Show me on your hand. Which property do we use now? Very good. Property 1, because we've got 2 logs that are adding. If we have 2 logs that are adding, property 1 says that we're going to multiply the arguments. So x times x to the 12th is x to the 13th, and y to the 8th times y is y to the 9th. So all we're doing is we're taking our arguments, the stuff in parentheses, and we're multiplying them. So then we used property 1. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to do another one. So we'll call this example D. In example D, we're given 1/2 times the log base 3 of a squared b minus log base 3 of b. Now, it's really easy to think, oh, we have two logs that are subtracting, it's log property 2, but what do we need to take care of first? What do we have to take care of first? Just like the last problem. What do we have to take care of first? The 1/2, good. So the 1/2, I've got to do something with that. Just like the last problem, we are going to take the 1/2 and bring it back. Okay, so we're going to take 1/2. We're going to bring it back as an exponent. Which property says that we can do that? Show me on your hand. Which property says I'm allowed to do that? Property 3. So we're using property 3, which says a coefficient you can bring back as an exponent. So this is log base 3 of a squared b all to the 1/2 power. All right, so we need to simplify our log. The first log, we need to simplify it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my exponents. Because I have a squared raised to the 1/2, I have to do 2 times 1/2. Well, 2 times 1/2 is 1. So this becomes a to the first. And then the exponent here on the b, this is a 1. So when I do 1 times 1/2, I get 1/2. And then minus log base 3 of b. Now I don't have any coefficients, so now I can use log property, which one, to combine these? Which log property can combine these? Very good. Log property 2. Log property 2 says if I have two logs being subtracted, I'm going to divide the arguments. So this is a b to the 1/2 over b and we are going to leave it here. And what I mean by that is we're not going to say 1/2 minus 1, because what would happen is we'd get a b to the 1/2 on the bottom. But we know from chapter 7, can I have a fraction exponent in the denominator? No, because it's actually a radical. So we're going to leave that there, but we're also going to look at this in radical form, because sometimes if it's like a multiple choice question, you might see this as a radical answer. So you can leave your answer here, but sometimes you might see this written like this. Log base 3 of a square root of b over b. Now, how did we get the square root? Where did that come from? Well, the square root came from this. If I have b to the 1/2 and I change forms to radical form, I bring that 2 around, this is the same thing as the square root of b. That's where that radical came from, because I just changed forms from exponential to radical. So either one of these is fine. All right, let's do another one. We'll call this example E. In example E, we are given 5 times the log base 10 of x squared plus log base 10 of y cubed minus log base 10 of x to the 7th y to the 10th. All right, so now we have 3 pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the first 2 pieces, and we're going to leave the 3rd piece alone for now. Okay, so I'm going to start by looking here and here. If I want to combine these 2 logs, the first thing I have to deal with is the 5 out front. That 5 out front can come back as an exponent. Show me on your hand which log property says I'm allowed to do that. Good, log property 3. So this is really log base 10, and then x squared to the 5th power is just x to the 10th, because we take the 2 times the 5. Plus log base 10 of y to the 3rd. And then we're going to just drop this piece down. So I'm just going to draw an arrow that I'm dropping it down, because I don't want to mess with it yet until these first 2 logs are combined. Now, looking at the first 2 logs, which log property, show me on your hand, can combine these? Very good, log property 1. Because these 2 logs are getting added, all I'm going to do is multiply the arguments. So this is x to the 10th, y to the 3rd. And then I'm going to drop down that log 10, x to the 7th, y to the 10th. So anytime there's 3 pieces, focus on the first 2, figure out the first 2, and then put in the 3rd one. Because now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, I've got 2 logs that are subtracting. Show me on your hand which log property should I be using. Good, log property 2. It says if I have 2 logs that are subtracting, I'm just going to divide the arguments. This is x to the 10th, y to the 3rd, over x to the 7th, y to the 10th. And now all I have to do is simplify this. So my exponent rules say when I'm simplifying this, x to the 10th over x to the 7th is x to the 3rd, because 10 minus 7 is 3. But then y to the 3rd over y to the 10th would be y to the negative 7. I don't want a negative exponent in my answer, so I'm just going to make this y to the 7th in the denominator. Alright, so that is all I have for you for part 1 of 7.5 notes. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to watch this video again or send me an